Hi, everybody. We're going to wait for a few more people to come in. I'm Christine Selen with GolfPass. I will be your host for Women in Golf this evening. We're just waiting on our guest, Debbie Doniger, who will be our first guest for Women in Golf. So we'll just give it a few more minutes and she will be coming in and we'll have a great interview. Let's see. Just having some technical difficulties. Seeing if we can get her to join. Hi.
No way!
I was like, I hope this goes through. You can hear me just
Awesome.
fine.
How are you?
I'm great.
Yeah.
How are you?
How are you? I'm good. Hold on. I'm just setting up my phone.
Nice.
All right. We're good. We're good. We can do this.
Well, it's great meeting you, Debbie. Thank you so much for joining us with Women in Golf with GolfPass. We're excited to have you.
Aww. Thank you for having me. So nice to be here. And nice to meet you.
I know
we have
nice.
mutual
I mean,
friends.
golf is such a small world, so it's nice that we have a mutual connection up in New York. So it's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
You're doing
Well,
some really cool stuff.
we're super excited to obviously talk about your great career in golf and just get the lay of the land of how you picked up the sport and how you got to where you are in your career. Obviously, you're a well-known instructor. You're top 100 in America and top 5 in New York State, which is amazing. So just a little bit of backstory, if you can share how you got into the sport in general.
Yes, I grew up in the Northeast in Connecticut, and we would go out to California a lot when I was a kid. My grandparents lived on a golf course in California, and so I just grew to love the game. I played a bunch of other sports, but at around 12 years old, I said I wanted to join the LPGA Tour, which is, for some of us, not a crazy dream or goal to have at a young age, but for some it is. So my parents found my teacher and one of my main mentors, Jim McLean, when I was 12 years old. So I was fortunate enough to have, arguably one of the best instructors in the, world as my coach and my teacher and then my mentor. And then I, grew up and expanded out from there.
Very impressive at a young age to know that you want to be professional in the sport that you're playing. So that is quite a story. And then through your years being an athlete and competing professionally, what made you shift into more of an instructor career path?
I did play, obviously, high level junior, college golf, like a bunch of us, amateur golf. Then I turned pro, tried to make the LPGA about 4 times, played the European Tour mainly, was at a crossroads at an age I missed Q school again by 1 or 2 shots. And, it was kind of upsetting. I'm still a little mad. Just kidding, but not really. Um, and so a bunch of my friends were actually leaving the tour a little bit. And, there's something to be said for having a little more stability, not traveling all the time and knowing a steady paycheck was possibly going to come, but when you start teaching for a living, the money is not wonderful because you're starting from the ground up. So you really have to decide that that's something you want to do. Also, McLean, that was his path. And I think because he was a mentor of mine that I was like, okay, I do have the best teacher in the world. I was on a a fast track within his system to teach. And so it made sense to have that as a segue. And golf in and of itself is like, I'm so passionate about it
Right.
and I intrinsically love the sport that, you know, in some respects, it's, I would never change it. But sometimes when I give talks for like younger junior golfers, I often say now I think the world is a much bigger place, that you don't have to be so myopic in your thinking, that the
Very true.
world of golf is so broad that you can, you know, maybe find different angles and paths other than what you see out there,
Right.
because there are so many
And I mean,
opportunities.
competing at such a high level, it's obviously very competitive amongst golfers, but I assume at some point you also feel a sense of camaraderie amongst the females that you play with, and you end up seeing them on like a weekly basis at local tournaments and whatnot. So how was your time going through the Q school process and trying to get your card and also playing on the European tour? What was that like?
I think that, well, you're right. You know, you grow up with junior golfers that are still some of my closest friends, and college golfers. I mean, we still text and laugh hysterically about all these things we did. But, um, you know, when my members or my clients watch the tour and they ask about certain shots, it is nerve-wracking. So like Q school is, it's the
Right.
disaster. It makes you throw up. But once you hit your first shot, it's like you, everything you've been doing as a kid is tournament golf, to prepare you for tournament golf. Is there a way to prepare for Q school? Not exactly, because you could be on the 18th tee and you know you got to make a birdie to, you know, possibly get your card. So there is a heavy pressure that maybe there's no way you could practice in practice. But you should be, for the most part, at that level, God willing, very prepared for when Q school comes. You know, but it's dicey, because golf is like this when you're playing for a living. And if you're on that lull when Q school is about to come, there's added pressure, and it's a mental, you know, golf is it's very,
It,
very tough
yes,
mentally, as
I
you
mean,
know.
golf definitely
So
is a sport that you have to be, your body has to be nimble, but most importantly, your mental game has to be really there. You have to be able to handle stress. You have to be able to handle playing with strangers for 4 hours. And it's an interesting game for sure, but it keeps you on your toes.
yeah, no, I know. And you play, you know, you do it your whole life. So you're quasi as prepared as you can be. And, you know, for those that did make it, who are out there playing for a living, it's, you know, it's a wonderful career if that's what you want and you actually can
So,
make
with
it. It
golf
really
being
is.
obviously a male dominated sport, I can only imagine the barriers to entry and the hurdles you went through becoming a female instructor, since I assume you have a lot of male clients versus female clients for students. So, how did you overcome those barriers when you were deciding to become a female golf instructor?
That's an interesting question, and I often get asked that, and I'm gonna take a slightly different view on it because it is my experience. My mentors in golf have
Mm-hmm.
only really been men, and my go-to people that I watch teach, that I learn from,
Right.
are usually male, and so I owe so much to that side of the sport. They were just generous beyond measure. And so barriers for entry in some respects is not as difficult as one may view, because
Mm-hmm.
women are few and far between in our industry. So if you add value, and if you, all the characteristics of why anyone would hire anyone for a job or for any reason, if you accomplish those things, regardless of whether you're a man or a woman and you're hired, you know, you're hired because of what you bring to the table and the value you bring and your experiences and the amount of work you did. So barrier for entry might be slightly
That's a
easier
very,
on the
very
women's
interesting
side.
take. That I mean, it's true that if you, no matter what, if you have the skill and you can prove that you are good at what you do, then it does, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, especially for your students. If they can see a great result at the end of the day or after spending some time with you, then that's really what they're looking for as a golfer, to improve their game.
Yeah, and we do, women are different, men are different. So we bring different viewpoints and different aspects to the
Mm-hmm.
table. So I'll be in a staff meeting at my club, Glen Arbor, and it's valuable to have other people, as my friend Susie would say, other people at the
Right.
table, because we all come from different experiences and you can actually come up with really cool, awesome ideas just via different people at the table. But I have only had really, really good experiences. I have never had that horror story that I've read about, that you've read about, that you've heard about. I have never had any of those, and I've been very fortunate and lucky. And sometimes, you get it on the other side. Sometimes women
Yeah,
are hard on women,
true.
which is a different discussion. But there is some truth to that too. So I've only had a good experience, great
I mean, golf
experience.
is obviously male dominated. It can be somewhat intimidating to women, but I've shared the same experiences. Like, I would not have gotten into golf if I didn't have a fantastic swing coach that kept motivating me, and my dad got me into the sport.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you just, if you have great people in your life who are there to support you and to help you grow the game of golf, then you're set. So during the
Absolutely.
past few years with COVID, there was obviously a huge uptick of interest in golf, just among people wanting to get into the sport or trying golf for the first time. On your side, did you see a big interest from female golfers getting into the sport, or even just being brought up in discussion of something that they wanted to try?
Yeah, 100%. A lot of women
Hmm.
and a lot of kids, because outside, be with family, be with friends. Um, Golf to me is hard. And
Right.
and it's time consuming. So while there was this nice, beautiful influx of new people, and it's our job to be able to keep them in the game or keep new beginners into the game, it's
Yeah.
hard. So you have to be creative. And I think with the advent of Drive Shack
Yeah.
and Top Golf and now Tiger's new place, I just think, and all these simulators popping up everywhere, and playing golf, whatever that means to you.
Right.
If that means going into an indoor simulator and you're playing golf, then that's okay. So I think it's been a fabulous boom. I think that it's very hard, though, to keep the customer in the game if they come to the game either a super type A personality, not super athletic, no real background to draw from
Right.
in terms of a movement pattern. It doesn't mean that it can't be done. It can, but I think that you have to have the experience and know how when you're faced with those kinds
It
of
was,
customers as
I
well.
mean, during the past few years, I also got a lot of my friends into golf, and it was always interesting. People saying, like, oh, golf is easy. I watch it on TV. But then you see them take a swing and they can't make contact with the ball. And you're like, it's a tricky sport. It looks easy on TV, but once you get out there, it's tricky.
Very,
I agree.
very, but it's the best. I
What,
mean, yeah,
so
thank you.
because you are obviously teaching people from a wide level of just getting into the sport, but are also been playing for years, and just wanting to get new swing thoughts. What is your biggest advice for women that are just interested in starting the golf game? Maybe they're a little intimidated to go to the driving range, to take their first lesson. What is your recommendations for them to show them that, golf is just like every sport. You just got to try it at some point.
I equated it to, I did a talk too, and I equated it to the first time I walked into a soul cycle class. And I don't do
Yeah.
soul cycle. I'm in the gym for sure, but I'm not a soul cycle person. And it was a member that took me, and she was like, I really want you to try it. And it's intimidating. I don't have the shoes. I don't know what bike I'm supposed to be on. I don't know how to set up my bike. And I feel it's the same way if I was going to take a ski lesson or somebody coming to the golf course for the first time. It is intimidating, for sure. Their first point of contact, we make sure, I know we're in the service business, so I would happily tell everyone that I would hope the first point of contact, regardless of whether you're at a private club or a public golf course or a resort or a Top Golf, is that you feel welcome and that they quell the nervousness and the anxiousness of starting something brand new. So whomever that person is, we would hope that that would start to mitigate the fear. And then in terms of me, I just like to know as much information as I can. So background, other sports, injuries, are you in the gym? What have you done? What don't you do? Get a whole full scope of the person in front of me so that I can give an appropriate introductory lesson, which would obviously include the basics, grip, stance, posture, center contact, and given their limitations or not, move on from there. But there's nothing better than grabbing the beginner, having them hit a center contact, beautiful shot for the first time, and then they're, I think, pretty much hooked. Yeah, because it doesn't feel right, and you're a beginner, like, oh my God. So that's my goal whenever I'm hit with a beginner golfer.
With the increase of people, with the interest of golf in general, it seems like there are clubs or public courses as well that are starting to build up women's leagues, which I think is great. I don't know if you've seen that around the New York area as well.
Yeah, totally. And I think COVID helped because now you're out with friends, and there are so many ways that, to your point, golf clubs, golf courses, leagues, to get everybody participating as a group, communal. That's the best part about golf. I mean, I don't know about you, but some of the most fun I ever have on a golf course is when I play with actually my friends from junior golf and college golf, and all we do is laugh like the entire time. And we're outside, and it's the most fun. So you're right. Everybody in golf, I would hope that any beginners watching this, I would hope would understand that you choose to be a golf professional because not only do we love the sport, but you really, even though it's selfish on the professional side, because it's all about you to get better and to make the tour and make money. But outside of that, it's a sport that you can build lifelong friendships, relationships, do business. I mean, if you're a woman and can play golf and you're going to hit the business world, there's nothing better. I tell my daughter that all the time.
It's very true. A lot of my girlfriends that I met in college, that I met on the team, golf has played a huge role in their career, whether it's in the sports industry or in the finance industry. Golf has always played a major role in whatever career they've decided to go after, for sure. I mean, it teaches you life skills. It teaches you how to hold a conversation with someone for 4 hours. So it's very helpful down the line. So we are obviously very excited for the launch of your show next week, Build a Better Game Swing Points. So what can our viewers look forward to? Can you tell us a little bit about the series, a little sneak peek maybe?
Well, first of all, I appreciate Golf Channel so much for giving me the opportunity to do it. I have a lengthy and wealth of teachers and instructors that have helped me along the way. So a lot of the content is just stuff that I've learned as I've watched teachers teach. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention them, and they're so important to me, aside from Jim McLean, obviously, but even when I go watch, and I am going to name drop here, but the likes of Chuck Cook and Randy Smith and Mike Adams, who has been instrumental, and even Butch Harmon and Bill Harmon. So those are individuals that have said, come, spend time. And I can't tell you, that's like one of my greatest joys outside of my children, to watch and to learn and to pick their brains. And so the content that you see, a lot of it is from the best teachers in the world. And I just am so grateful that I get to share that information. And if I can communicate the message in a way that helps our members get better and maybe grab one or two different ways that I've communicated it where it resonates, then, you know, we've done a huge service for anybody who picks up an idea here and there or a drill. I'm very big on drills. I know some teachers aren't. I grew up with drills. I do drills. I like drills. So different drills and feels. Um, some of my ideas are, you know, you like to use external cues as much as you can. I also have grown up with internal cues, so you get a mix of both. And hopefully there's enough information in there that someone can grab something the way they learn and can
Right.
make their better,
I think what's
make their
great
game
about
better.
a lot of the content that you put out when it comes to swing tips, it's really easy. It's nothing crazy or complicated. And a lot of your tips, like you can do at home. You just pick up like a water bottle as a prop. It's very easy to do instruction and nothing overwhelming for someone who's just getting in the sport, or even if someone is in the sport, it's just really quick tips that's sort of easy to keep in the back of your head the next time you go to the range. So it's very helpful.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. It's really
you
hard to
got to
come
get
up with a
creative.
lot of content that can be simple. I know, but I do think they're general for everybody, and I hope everybody realizes that. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
appreciate that so much.
I
Thank
look for tips all the time. So just going through the content that you've put out, some swing tips are in the back of my mind when I go to the driving range. So it's been very helpful.
Awesome. Thank you.
So do you have, if you were to speak to your younger self, just whether it's on the competitive side of trying to go pro and going through all of those tournaments and hurdles for that, or on the career side, becoming an instructor and building up your name in that space, what are your pieces of advice that you would go back to for your younger self?
My younger self, I would definitely tell myself that sometimes your good is good enough. I never thought my good was good enough. And my two kids play a different sport at a very high level. And I try to impart that because you don't have to, there is no need. You do not have to be perfect to play really good golf. And you don't have to be perfect to play their sport either. So I wish I wasn't as hard on myself as I was seeking perfection. Um, and then also, like I said, I'm not quite sure my younger self would say this because I was so keen on playing for a living, and my mom would always say to me, maybe you should get your graduate degree, maybe you should just do this just in case. And instead of hearing it as a negative, like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? I'm going to make the tour. Like, stop. I I often wonder, had I taken a few more classes in college that were of interest to me versus being, like I said in the very beginning of our talk, being so myopic and not realizing as I get older that your path, your journey is going to veer off. You have to be fluid enough to take the opportunities when they come and realize that they're really cool and go do it. And that you can be risk averse. But I only think you can be risk averse when you have stability in your life, whether that's financial or family or your kids are okay,
Right.
if you choose to have a family and kids. But then you can start to be risky, and you don't really realize that when you're early on, that your life is going to take different journeys and different paths, and you have one life, so
That
might
is
as well
very
go
true.
for it when they come.
For any of our listeners, maybe who are thinking about getting into the career path of being an instructor, do you have any pieces of advice or tidbits for them?
Seek out the best of the best, ingratiate yourself, be humble. It takes a lot of time to be really good. I will say this too. Every time I watch those teachers, and I'll use Chuck Cook again. I'm not going to name the book, but I went to go watch Chuck teach. We're in his house, we're talking. On his coffee table was a book written by a modern instructor with a ton of research behind him. And this is Chuck Cook. And he's still learning. So to be a voracious learner and understand that even, every day you learn, every day you can get better. And I agree with Butch, if you can figure out the one cause that fixes 4 or 5 things, if you can figure out those puzzle pieces, which has to do with the body, the swing, mechanics, the whole enchilada, then you're on your way to being a really good instructor. But that does not come without the help of many before you, and it does not come without tons of years on the tee. It just can't. You have to do a lot.
That's great advice. Well, thank you so much for joining us and being our first guest for Women in Golf on our Wednesday night interviews. So we are very excited for your show to come out next week. I believe Tuesday is the first day of the premiere. So we're so excited. Thank you so much for sharing all your insights into how you got into the game and just growing the game of golf in general.
Well, thank you so much to you for having me at Golf Channel. I can't tell you, it's so appreciated, and it does not go unnoticed.
Well, it was great chatting with you, Debbie. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.